tonight. We are hosting Monday Night IBD as a video instead of a tutorial. And I am Joseph Sleiman. I'm your host for tonight. I'm from Cleveland Clinic. And together with Dr. Arushi Kohli, who is a dear friend, an IBDologist, and the director of intestinal ultrasound at Tufts Medical University in Boston, we are going to discuss DDW. And specifically from an IBD perspective, how does a trainee who's interested in IBD going to get ready for the experience of DDW? Arushi, welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
You look wonderful.
Thank you.
And have you been through DDW as a trainee, as a resident?
Yes, my first DDW, I believe, was as a med student, and I've been as a resident and as a fellow and as an advanced fellow. This will actually be my first as an attending.
Woohoo! What was your first impression for that first DDW compared to other conferences?
So overwhelming. It's the biggest conference I've been to in terms of size of convention center. So just like the physical distance you have to cover, as well as just the amount of knowledge there is, because there's everything from basic science, translational science, clinical outcomes, really everything. And all the societies are there, right? So there's AGA, ASGE, the liver people are there. So that was really overwhelming because I didn't even know where to go my first time.
Exactly. And I feel like they keep making it simpler on the app, and there's now this IBD tracker, so you can sort of filter what you want to do. And but it's still, even if you do that, you're going to see that multiple sessions are happening at the same time, and all of them are IBD.
Exactly. There's so much going on at the same time. So my experience the first time, I didn't even know the app existed. I didn't know how to organize myself. I think I had a paper sort of like schedule that I had written out in terms of like places to go. And that was only when I was 2 days in, when I realized there's no way I'm going to do this, on the fly. So now it's much easier. I think there are two different ways to do it. So, and I would recommend doing both depending on, why you're using it. So definitely download the app. That's going to be your quickest sort of go-to. You can flag stuff in the app. You can sort things by society. So I'll look at what's happening in basic science, translational science, and then clinical, of course. And then I also like to see what the pharma people are doing in terms of new products that are coming out, both scope related, so like technology related or pharmaceutical related, which is probably our biggest focus in IBD. So yeah, definitely use the app. And then the second thing that I found really helpful, and I think you use this for cornerstones as well when we were doing Best of DDW, is the desktop version, because you can actually look at the posters beforehand, because a lot of people will upload their posters. So you can go in, you can type in whatever you're interested in. Let's say in IBD, you're interested in anal dysplasia. You can type it in, see if there are any new posters, any talks pertaining to that. And then you can also overview the abstract as well as the poster. So that was really nice because if I found a title interesting, I could just read and see, is the content really as interesting? And then I can flag it in my app.
Perfect. We talked about Abstract Planner, using the app, bookmarking the sessions. So that's really a first good way of reducing this feeling of being overwhelmed. I think what I would add is really pick specific goals that you want to attain, and don't just go with a vague, I want to meet people. Try your best to think ahead of time about who you want to meet and why. That's going to really help you, first of all, know where to look, because if they're presenting somewhere, if they're at a poster, you have a higher chance to find them because you know who you want to. And why? Is it because you already have some shared research idea? Is it because you want to ask for a connection at a specific location? It really changes what you're doing and how likely you're going to succeed at finding those people. So the more you have concrete goals, the better your chances in a vast space of DDW to find the right people.
Totally. And I would just add, if you are wandering and if you don't know what you're doing, if you really want to meet people, the poster sessions are the best place to do so
Yeah.
because you will run into someone or the other.
Yeah.
You'll run into, an interesting poster, and lo and behold, the person presenting is actually a big name or, from an institution that you're interested to apply to for fellowship or advanced fellowship. So
Yeah.
if you're ever completely lost, just wander the poster the poster sessions.
I call them Lady Gagas of GI.
Yeah.
That's but they're not just performing. They're really amazing people, and they're humble, by the way. So
So
I think
nice.
I think let's break the ice on. Are you afraid when it's a big name and you want to say hi to them? How do you, as a trainee,
Mhm.
how did you approach it? How were you most successful? Because it's intimidating.
Oh, definitely, definitely intimidating. I think it depends. It depends on who they are, if I have any connection to them, right? Like, do I have a joint interest in terms of research? Is that something I can strike a conversation about? Is there any institutional overlap, right? Is this someone from somewhere I went to residency or fellowship or advanced fellowship? Is there any basically thread of I know you from that
Yes. We met that
that
time,
I can
or
that I can
yeah.
use, right? And if not, if I just really want to meet them, there has to be a reason, as you said, right? I'm not just trying to sort of meet them, introduce myself for no reason. So I would just like to think before I approach them and know what I'm going to say, because I think everyone's interested in, mentoring and meeting young people who are interested in the field. It's just how you approach it. And I think it's nice when you come from a place of, inquiry and you have an idea of, let's say, a project or something that you basically don't want to waste their time is my
Yes.
bottom line. So I don't want to just go there and talk about nothing. If I'm gonna take their time, even if it's a couple of minutes, I just want to make sure it's worth it for myself and then also for them in some way.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if you can say something along the line of, I have an idea, would it be okay to take your email and contact you after the conference to discuss? That would be great.
Yeah.
It's very different to just show up randomly and say, I need mentorship or I need help or I want to match. And that's
Yeah.
very kind of overwhelming in a conference
Mhm.
setting to just like, I don't even know you. Like, where do we start from there? As opposed to, I know how to access this database and I might have an idea, but I don't know if it's a good one. Do you
Yeah.
have time to discuss after the conference? That's very different.
Totally.
Or I'm already doing this project, but we need more patience. Is there a chance we can connect that? And I usually say after the conference, let me take your email because there's likely a line forming the moment you start talking to someone.
For sure.
And I've seen some people follow the person to the restrooms. Please don't do
Don't
that.
do that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like be mindful of where they are. Are they exhausted? Is it the end of the day? They're nice and they know that you want to say hi. Uh, a gentle, I just would like to connect with you after is enough because that's the anchor for that future email. Hey, we met
Absolutely.
and then we talked about this briefly, but here's what it is. And now you've sealed the deal. Okay,
Absolutely.
so what should you do if you're presenting a poster or an oral? What do you do, I guess, to stand out?
Your presentation has to be seamless, right? So you practice, practice, practice. You absolutely have to practice. I remember, so I have done one, two, three oral presentations at DDW now, and I think every single time it's gotten a little bit better. So practice is key. For my most recent presentation, which was as an advanced IBD fellow, I had a great program director who was very hands-on. So leading up to the day before my presentation, I actually did a run through with Dr. Mahadevan, and it was phenomenal. And it's really nice because when you do multiple run-throughs with different people, they ask you different questions. And for me, and I think for a lot of people, the most intimidating part of presenting an oral presentation or even a poster presentation is the questions that come after.
Mhm.
And it's really nice when you're prepared and you have some backup slides as well in terms of, you plan ahead for the questions that may be asked, and you're prepared with backup slides for data to support your answers. I think that shows that you're very polished, that you've worked hard on not just presenting the data that you have and putting it in a nice, concise format. We all know the, more pictures, less words sort of advice that's given to us, but really be prepared for the questions that come after. And if you're prepared, that gives you more confidence during the presentation as well. So it's engaging, it sounds like a story, you seem relaxed, you seem like you're interested yourself in what you're presenting. And I think all that's really important.
And at the posters, I think it's an amazing time to potentially form collaborations because people who are coming to your poster have probably looked for your poster ahead of time. So they're coming to ask questions because they either have a similar project or they're interested in this topic. So you feel free to ask them, what brought you here? Or like, what do you think? Or if they ask more questions, try to see, oh, that sounds like another project. And so maybe see if there's a room for collaboration. And I've had a few moments where I was asking questions to a resident, but that resident had a mentor that I cared about. And so that became a connection just by being there at a poster. So even take advantage of those opportunities for networking for future collaboration.
Absolutely.
So, Arushi, do you use social media at all? I mean, do you think it's worth it during DDW, before, after?
I think social media is a double-edged sword. I think it is really important how you use it, right? We've all been in DDW lectures and presentations where, depending on the size of the presentation, if it's a smaller presentation, it's about like 20, 25, 30 people in the room. I think using too much social media in taking those slide photos can be distracting, right? For the presenter and also for you, it's hard to follow along in a presentation, especially if it's a more technical presentation, if you're sort of distracted taking photos of slides. At the same time, it's really nice to, people like you, Joe, who will post clinical pearls and, sort of high yield stuff from lectures that I probably didn't have the bandwidth to go and attend. So that's why I say it's a double-edged sword. You should know when it's too much and you should know what's pertinent, right? And I think you can speak really well to that. Take a couple of sort of high yield photos and a couple of high yield snippets that you can then share that will be valuable to a broader audience, as opposed to just take 100 photos, miss the gist of the talk, distract people around you, and then be overwhelmed when you have to post.
I agree. I think it's a fine balance between being a journalist reporter and enjoying it yourself, right? So you're there to learn and experience it. But I also see maybe trainees can benefit from posting so that they have some visibility.
Totally.
So I guess, focus on the things that matter to you. Don't just share anything and everything, because then there's no brand, there's no mission that you're projecting. If someone sees all your posts, they don't understand what you're doing. They just think you're a journalist. So maybe only post about things that matter to you and your research career mission, for example, or where you want to be, whatever you're trying to say, medical education, advocacy, whatnot. And the trinkles of your own posting, like you're proud of your poster, it's okay to post it.
Absolutely.
But when you post about other people that you're impressed by, it's a balanced tone rather than just me, me, me. So I think find that balance if you're posting. If you don't, that's okay. A lot of connections are actually not shared on social media, and probably also that's important because if you're building some collaborations, you want them to mature slowly. I think people don't necessarily want to share everything, so don't think that you have to.
Right. And I think we need to remember DDW, as much as it is about research collaborations, et cetera, is also just finding new friends, be it colleagues, be it, people who in the future will be colleagues, mentors, right? And a lot of those friendships then over time will develop into opportunities. So definitely stay in touch with the people you meet at DDW. If you genuinely enjoyed a conversation, if you think someone is intelligent, if you feel like they would be a good friend, just remain friends with them and sort of see where that relationship goes. And I think social media is great for that.
I agree. Do you think, did you make an effort as a trainee to go to social events, or did you stick to conference events? For example, if we're talking about IBD, for Monday Night IBD collaborates with Koji and other patient advocacy groups, and they have receptions after DDW where they talk about patient perspective, and a lot of people go to those. Saya also does these events, and they are focused on IBD, but recently they've expanded their focus.
Right.
Things like Rainbow and GI, Mina GI, and other societies might not only focus on IBD, but they sometimes do have subtopics of IBD. For example, this year, Mina GI will have a talk on IBD mentorship and the IBD fellowship pathway. So, have you been to any of these? Did you feel like they were important for you as a trainee?
Yeah, I've definitely been to a bunch of these. So Saya, Dr. Neil Nandi is one of my mentors from medical school. So I always make it a point to reach out to him before DDW and, ask if he's going to be around and sort of catch up with him. So this is going to Saya events for me was a great way of reconnecting with my mentor from medical school, right? And feel like I met a lot of interesting people there that I may not have met in general, right? And as you mentioned, there'll be patient advocates there that normally I wouldn't sort of come across. So that's nice to get their perspective from. I've also been to a Rainbow and GI event. They're always super fun. And I have friends who are part of that team. So you end up at these events, I feel like, because like you'll meet someone who's going somewhere and then you kind of go there with them as well, and then sometimes you plan to be there, to connect with the mentor. So I've definitely been to these events. I think they're so much fun, and they're sort of like passive networking as well, right? Because you're meeting people who are interested in things that you're passionate about, whether it be IBD, or whether it be sort of DEI efforts, whatever that sort of interest of yours may be, and you'll see that you find people of similar interests, you strike a conversation, and then you have a new connection. So I would recommend going to them.
I think you mentioned something that makes me think about a different question. You emailed a previous mentor, but as a trainee, have you ever thought about emailing someone new ahead of time, asking to meet them at DDW? And if you would ever do that as a trainee, like what would be the instigator, the moment to do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It would have to be, as I mentioned before, a thoughtful reason, right? I don't want to waste their time. I know from looking at my program director, how busy DDW can be for some of these big name people. And it's really packed, like morning to night, it's packed for them. So chances are if you're emailing them a week or even 2 weeks before, their schedule is already packed because it's going to be full of meetings. So I think it's worth a shot if you have a good reason for it. I remember my advanced fellowship interview was actually at AIBD. So some advanced IBD fellowships will use the conferences as a way to interview applicants. So that is sort of a context in which you will reach out to, the people you're interested in speaking with, interviewing with, and ask if you can connect with them at DDW, and that kind of serves as a interview for the position of an advanced IBD fellow. So that's in one context. Now, if there is a specific research question, and if I'm presenting on something, right, and I know that another person who's a big name in this particular field is going to be there, and normally I wouldn't have access to meeting them. Maybe they're geographically really far, maybe they're from a different country, right? So that's a really compelling reason to email them beforehand. Give it enough time, email them beforehand with a really clear ask for their time, because their time is valuable, right? And depending on how early you ask and if they have flexibility in their schedule, I think it's a great opportunity to meet them.
Perfect. You jumped smoothly into the IBD fellowship question.
Yeah.
I agree that, let's say this is now 2026, it's going to be May. You are going to ask for IBD fellowship. it's probably too late for the 2026, but 2027, 2028 IBD fellowship, DDW feels like a year and a few months of change to that cycle.
Right.
I think me and you agree that we've noticed more and more for academic IBD fellowships that are heavily research oriented, you would need to reach out even sooner than DDW. But some other clinically focused IBD fellowship might have spots open this time, a year and a few months ahead. So it doesn't hurt to reach out if you would at this point in time be a second year fellow asking for a position a year and a little bit a half ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is an opportunity for first year fellows and definitely second year fellows to consider asking about research or more likely clinical IBD fellowship for the year and a half sooner.
Yes, I agree. And I think it never hurts, right? So even if, let's say you're asking too early. It's always better to be asking too early than to be asking too late. So at least now you've made that connection with them. They know who you are. And then they'll tell you, be like, hey, it's a little bit early. Why don't you circle back after DDW in a couple of months? And then we can chat about setting up interviews. So I do think it's it's always nice when you can see someone in person, when you can introduce yourself in person. I know most things happen over Zoom now, but I think it's still nice to meet someone, show your interest, and you are going out of your way in a little bit, to show your interest. And I think that goes a long way. So no harm reaching out to people, asking about the programs. And if it isn't even the program director and there's someone else from that institution who is, let's say, has a more flexible schedule and is able to meet with you, that's also a nice sort of introduction to them. They know who you are so that when you do apply, they'll remember that you reached out and that they've met you before.
And I definitely think that you have to have your personal statement ready, your CV up to date.
Oh, definitely.
For this opportunity, you need to be ready. Perhaps a letter of recommendation as well from your GI program director or an IBD faculty at your program. I would even say you need your CV ready for any future meetup, because if you meet someone and you want to send them an email later and say, hey, nice to meet you, it's great to have a CV attached to that email.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it must be attached to it, I think. Yeah, I think if you're sending a professional email, especially for IBD position, or even some people, depending on where you are in your sort of professional trajectory, are using DDW to look for jobs, you definitely want that cover letter and you want that CV ready.
Good. And then what should you do after DDW to maximize the value? We spoke about this, but anything else you'd like to add?
Just circle back. If you just be true to your word, right? If you met someone, you made a good impression, you're interested in the work they do, you're interested in a research collaboration, then do follow back. Do follow up with them and close that loop and reach out, with that email, with the CV, and just a quick, 2 sentences about where you met, what your conversation was, just to give them a little bit of a refresher, right? Because they're meeting so many new people. So it's nice for you to just give them a quick refresher and set up that coffee chat.
Yeah, and it doesn't really hurt to give grace that they might not see your email. So give yourself 2 weeks and then send a reply to that same email. If they don't answer, it's okay.
Yeah.
Arushi, this is a bonus question if you're interested. Was there any mistake you did at your first DDW as a trainee?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. And this is my word of advice and caution to everyone, especially the women. Your shoes. This is a huge conference. This is a really, really big convention hall, and the lectures are far apart. So wear flats, wear sneakers if you have to. Don't wear heels. Your feet will thank you, and you will actually make all the lectures you want to attend. So shoes will be my biggest word of advice.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Kohli. And this was amazing. I think I learned a lot, and I hope that our watchers will learn as well. And hopefully they put some questions in the comments and let us know. We're happy to answer some more questions.
Amazing. Thank you for having me here. I had a great time.
Take care, everyone.